What's up guys, Aaron here, and today we're going to be doing the full review of the HTC One M8. So without further ado, let's go ahead and start off with the build quality. Now in my opinion, this is the best built phone out right now. Now there are a lot of very nice and well built phones out there right now, including the Apple iPhone 5S, but in my opinion the HTC One M8 is the best built phone right now, period. And I'm going to go ahead and go over a couple reasons why I think so. First off, the HTC Boom Sound front-facing speakers. Now that is unique to the device. No other device has front-facing speakers right now to date. Even though a lot of other companies have yet to put front-facing speakers on their devices, you can see that this is in the future of other devices as well. Now another thing is the solid and single piece of metal. Now this is a very, very well built and very nicely manufactured and crafted device. They definitely thought this out very nicely, and they definitely wanted to make a big statement when releasing the HTC One M8 and the HTC One M7. And I guess you could say the HTC One M7 started it all off, and now the HTC One M8 is the predecessor. One thing that I do have to mention is that the nice sleek look of the phone comes along with a couple drawbacks. And one of the drawbacks is that this is a very, very slippery phone. In my opinion, even though this is an extremely well-built phone and you definitely want to show off the build quality, I think this is a phone that deserves a case. Now the full metal body design here on the HTC One M8 definitely sets the bar extremely high for other cell phone companies when it comes to hardware and actually design in general of a device. Now as you can see here, we have tapered edges, which is one thing that I don't really like about the device. And the reason for that is that when I set it down and when I go to actually press on the sides of the device, you can see it kind of bounces around and makes a bunch of noise in the process. Now obviously that doesn't happen with the Samsung Galaxy Note 3. You can just type away here on a flat surface, and the same with the Apple iPhone 5S. So that's one thing I don't like about the build quality, is that it has tapered sides and it is hard to type on a flat surface. Now a lot of people ask me, is the HTC One M8 heavy? Now it's not a heavy device in my opinion at all. It does weigh 5.64 ounces. So to answer that question, I have to say no, it isn't heavier than any other device of the similar size. Now next up is the display. Now the HTC One M8 has a 441 pixel per square inch count. So what that means in actuality is that it has a very clean and crisp and clear display. So I think the only display that's better than the HTC One M8 right now would have to be the S5. The S5 has extremely vibrant and very nice looking screen, but the HTC One M8 has a very, very nice screen as well. Now once again, 441 pixels per square inch, which is extremely, extremely high for a 5-inch device. I would have to say that the full 1920 by 1080p Super LCD 3 Corning Gorilla Glass touchscreen digital display, that type of display not being a AMOLED display like a Samsung device, but being more similar to an iPhone device being LCD, you're going to definitely have to have this on full brightness out in the sunlight, because the LCD screen just tends to reflect a lot. Now the HTC One M8 is running Android 4.4 KitKat and does have Sense 6 skin applied over the top. So one awesome upgrade from the M7 to the M8 is the expansion of memory feature back here. So we have a micro SD card slot here on the top now. So now we can expand the memory all the way up to 128 gigabytes. And we also get 2 gigabytes of RAM. Now back to the skin overlay. Sense 6 in my opinion is a very light skin. And in my opinion, I don't mind the Sense 6 skin overlay on top of HTC's software. And also it is very similar to the stock vanilla Android experience that you get on a Nexus device. So this is pretty much the closest experience you can get, rather than getting a Google Play Edition device or a Nexus device, to a vanilla Android experience, which is, in my opinion, the best experience when it comes to Android. Next up, let's talk about battery life. Now battery life on the HTC One M8 in my opinion is extremely, extremely good. Now I'm getting anywhere from a day to 2 days with moderate use. Now we have a 2600 milliamp battery, which in my opinion is pretty decent, and HTC definitely optimized the software to take advantage of power saving techniques and power saving options available in the actual OS, saving the battery life in my opinion and actually letting it last a lot longer than you would expect out of even a 2600 milliamp battery. So you can expect to get one solid day's use. You won't have to run for your charger or even take your charger with you. Just make sure it's fully charged when you leave and you will be good to go. Next up is gaming. Now gaming and multimedia in general is absolutely awesome and is definitely a pleasure to use here on the HTC One M8. Now you can see when you put this phone in landscape mode, they naturally just adjust to both sides of your ears, giving you a stereo and surround sound experience, which in my opinion is an awesome feature here of the HTC One M8, and it does enhance and give you a very pleasurable experience when it comes to multimedia, whether it being YouTube video playback, whether it be gaming. Now for the record, the M8 does have a built-in amplifier, which definitely adds to the experience of the audio. I've yet to test out another smartphone with a better speaker setup than the M8 has currently. And HTC says that the M8 is actually 25% louder than the M7's Beats audio speaker. Next up is price. Now you can expect to pay about $600 and some change if you want to get this off contract. Now there was a Mother's Day sale going on, which of course is not going on anymore, but there was a special for $99 to get this device with a 2-year contract when it's normally $199. So if you want to pick this up on contract now, it is $199, off contract $600 and some change for a 32 gigabyte model. And once again, you can upgrade the memory here on the side with the micro SD card all the way up to 128 gigs. Next up is the camera. Now the camera, in my opinion, is the biggest flaw here on the HTC One M8. And the reason for that is that they're going for an ultra pixel technique. Now I gotta give a shout out to HTC for trying to bring something different to the table with the whole ultra pixel technique and trying to allow more light into the actual photograph than you would with a megapixel. But in my opinion, it just isn't good enough for me when it comes to taking photographs. I find myself pulling out my iPhone 5S 10 times out of 10 rather than the HTC One M8. And if that's happening, then obviously the camera on the HTC One M8 isn't up to par. Now it does have a duo camera which has U-focus afterwards, which means that you can snap a photo and then change the focus after the photo has been snapped. The M8 also has a f2.0 aperture rating and a 28mm wide-angle lens with 2 LEDs that they're calling Smart Flash here on the back. But once again, in my opinion, it just isn't up to par. Now, when it comes to the front-facing camera, the front-facing camera, ironically, is bigger in a megapixel sensor count at 5 megapixels. So once again, in the back we have a 4 ultra pixel, and in the front we have a 5 megapixel. So the 5 megapixel camera in the front is going to be great for recording yourself or for maybe snapping a selfie or whatnot. But I don't do that very often, and I don't plan to record any videos from the front-facing camera anytime soon from the One M8. Now we got other things in here, such as HTC Zoe, a 3D effect also that we can apply here as a filter as well. Now one thing I don't like about the camera is that it has no optical image stabilization. And in my opinion, every single camera, especially on a smartphone, should have optical image stabilization, which of course is going to make the camera overall more stable and look more steady. And once again, we have the HTC Zoe feature, which is going to clip together some photographs that you've taken, and it's going to actually make somewhat of a video or a trailer that you can add music to, which is it's a pretty cool feature, I guess, but it's not a deal breaker when it comes to buying the phone or not. Next up is the speed of the UI, and what I mean by that is how fast everything works and how smooth the actual device is overall in general. And in my opinion, the HTC One M8 is one of the fastest devices out on the market. There is no stutter and no lag. Once again, Sense 6 is a very light skin and a very light overlay here on HTC software, so it doesn't add any heavy bloatware. So when it comes to actually running the overall user interface and the UI here on the HTC One M8 and Sense 6, it is an overall pleasant experience once again because it is very fluent. Everything opens up extremely snappy and there is no lag. Next up is durability. Now, how durable is the HTC One M8? HTC One M8 is definitely a smartphone that I suggest you use a case for. Now, that is a bummer for the fact that it is a very nicely built phone and you want to show off the build quality and just the overall sleek and sexy look of the HTC One M8. However, once again, it is very slippery, so I suggest perhaps the OtterBox Defender Series case, which I did make a video on. I'll go ahead and drop a link down in the description to that video so you can check that out and see if that's a case you would like. Or maybe the HTC Dot View case. That is a very nice feature-enriched case as well. Next up is features, and those features could be either good or bad. So first off, we have a touchscreen button, so we have no actual physical home button. So if we turn off the screen, you can see that there is no home button on the entire device. And it definitely adds to the single piece of aluminum and sleek unibody design, but there is no home button. Now you can tap on the home screen when it is off and it will open up, and there is a couple cool features such as that helps you actually turn on the device, seeing the fact that you don't have a home button. But some people don't like touchscreen capacitive buttons. They like a physical home button. So that is a feature, may it be good or bad. Next up is there is no removable battery. Next up is the IR blaster that's built in to the top of the device. You can just turn on your smartphone and simply use your remote and the IR blaster here at the top of the One M8. Now last but not least, my overall opinion. Now my overall opinion on the HTC One M8 is I think this is definitely a revolutionary device. The HTC One M7 brought HTC back in the game. They were actually drowning as a company and pretty much were going to be out of the game if they didn't release something that was groundbreaking, and they actually rose to the occasion and released the M7. Now once again with the M8, all they did was take their awesome design of the M7 and add a couple awesome features to it, and a phone that is perfect for multimedia consumption. I would definitely say that the HTC One M8 is not the phone for you if you're looking for a flawless camera. Now, I'm not saying that the camera on the M8 isn't good, but in my opinion, I think they need to step up their game and quit going with the ultra pixel and go back to the basics and step up to the plate and go with a megapixel count of at least 8 megapixels or higher. Now once again, on the Samsung Galaxy S5 we have a 16 megapixel camera, which I would love to see HTC have a 16 megapixel camera here on the M8. Now the duo camera and the smart flash on the back, they work great, and yeah, you can change the focus after the fact of snapping a shot, but in my opinion I'd rather have a crisper and clearer picture than having the option to blur out certain things inside of the photographs and stuff like that, and all the things that I can actually add with a filter rather than having two cameras on the device. So can I recommend this phone to everybody out there? I'd have to say yes, I can. If you're not worried about getting the most crisp and absolute sharpest pictures that you can, which in my opinion is a big deal to me, but to some people that's not a big deal, and to the average person the 4 ultra pixel camera on the back of the device is going to work fine for you. So on a scale of 1 to 10, I would have to give this phone an 8. And the only reason I'm taking away 2 points is one going to be for the camera on the back. Once again, it isn't up to par in my opinion. And the second being that when you lay it down on the flat surface, once again, it hops around and bounces around, and I can't stand when a phone does that. So there you have it, guys. This is my full review of the HTC One M8. Anyways, guys, that's going to do it for me on this one. If you have not yet subscribed to the channel, now's a great time to do so. Be sure to drop a thumbs up down below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one.